Hare Krishna. We continue reading from Nectar of Devotion. We have been reading the introduction. So just now we heard was saying, Prabhupada was saying in the purport that by hearing we get fixed in devotional service. So this devotional service is sort of cultivation. We have to cultivate this devotional service. It's not simply inaction for people who like to be inactive or devote their time to silent meditation. No. Devotional service, we are doing activity. We are hearing. It's an activity. We are chanting. It's an activity. It's not that we are just sitting like a stone and doing nothing. No. Devotional service, we just heard, begins by hearing, chanting. So it's action. There's action required. There are many different methods for people who want this, but cultivation of Krishna consciousness is different. It's not that we just sit in one corner and do some silent meditation and automatically the knowledge will come to us. No, where will the knowledge come to us if we are just going to sit and focus on base only on our mind? We have to hear the knowledge from Krishna, from the authorities. That's the fastest way, the surest way, the easiest way. If I want to become expert in something, I go to the expert and ask them, hey, how do you do this? And they tell me, you do this, this, this. And I can become an expert for sure in the shortest possible manner. Instead of wasting a lot of time and energy um, using my faulty imagination. So the particular used by Srila Rupa Goswami in this connection is Anushilana, or cultivation by following the predecessor Acharya, teachers, Acharyas. So we cultivate devotional service, we cultivate Krishna consciousness. Cultivate Krishna consciousness, how? Not that I make up my own way, that this is the way to cultivate, or someone else will make up their way, or this is the way to cultivate. No, the standard is already been set. By who? By the previous acharyas, by the previous teachers. Do this, 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 this. We simply have to follow. That's it. As soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to activity. Without activity, consciousness alone cannot help us. All activities may be divided into two classes. One class may be for achieving a certain goal, and the other may be for avoiding some unfavorable circumstance. So these two activities that we do certain thing to achieve a certain goal, and we do certain thing so that some bad things don't happen. It's called pravriti and nivriti, positive and negative action. There are many examples of negative action. For instance, a diseased person has to be cautious and take medicine in order to avoid some unfavorable illness. So what is this negative action? That we do certain activities so that we can avoid unfavorable circumstance. For example, it's going to rain today, so we carry an umbrella so that we can have an umbrella, then we don't have to get drenching wet. So here Prabhupada is also giving an example that we take a medicine, we have a disease. So because of that, we take some medicine, we do some lifestyle management, we do certain things. Why? So that we can, avoid this unfavorable disease. We can avoid the suffering of the disease.
So then
those who are cultivating,
is it?
Yes.
This action, nivriti action.
Nivriti, yeah. Nivriti is the negative, the positive is the pravriti.
But taking medicine how does that become a negative action?
Oh, because, okay, so nivriti is doing some action to avoid something unfavorable. So there are two types of action. One action is I have to achieve this goal. This is my goal. So that's pravriti. And another thing is, let me do this so that as a precaution. So the nivriti is the precaution.
The precaution
Does
becomes
that
a
make sense? It's just explained in that way. It is not negative as such, but it
Okay.
is a precaution. Yeah, it's not that it's a bad thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not bad. No, no, not at all. Not at
Hmm.
all. We'll hear, in fact, how good it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is a
But I'm
precaution that we are taking.
more on the positive action of this activities, like some positive, like some example. Can you explain it a little more?
So we can see that Prabhupada will go further and say how pravriti we are, just looking after material goals. I need to attain this material goal. I need to, get X amount of, whatever goals we make. How many goals we make, personal goals, health. We may say, I'm gonna achieve X amount of, I'm going to buy X amount of clothes, I'm going to make X amount of money, I'm going to, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the nivriti is, let me not engage in sinful activities because sinful activities are going to lead me to suffering.
Hmm. Okay.
You see? Yeah. So it's not that the nivriti is bad, it's good, in fact. The nivriti is like, okay, let me not indulge in illicit activities because those are going to end me, they are going to lead me to suffering. So in pravriti and nivriti, in Krishna consciousness, it can be pravriti, let me do my hearing and chanting. I need to do hearing and chanting regularly. And nivriti, let me avoid the sinful activities.
Yeah. Okay. Makes
Does that
sense.
make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So those who are cultivating spiritual life and executing devotional service are always engaged in activity. So both we are doing. We are doing hearing chanting, we are avoiding illicit activity. So both is going on. Pravriti and nivriti is going on. So there is activity. There is some activity. It's not that only sleeping. Such activity can be performed with the body or with the mind. Thinking, feeling, and willing are all activities of the mind. And when we will to do something, the activity comes to be manifest by the gross bodily senses. When we will to do something, the activity comes to be manifest by the gross bodily senses. So first, it's a thought. In our mind is a thought. Then we feel, oh, how will I feel when I do something? When we start the feeling already, it gets difficult to stop the action. Then we are like, yes, I will go ahead and do it. Then we do the action. So thinking, feeling, willing are the activities of the mind. First, there's a thought. Let me do this. Then we start feeling, if I do this, I'm going to feel like this. Already, when we put a feeling to the thought, it gets difficult for us to control ourselves. And then willing, then we want to do the action. And then when we want to, we actually do it by our senses, the gross. So thus, in our mental activities, we should always try to think of Krishna and try to plan how to please him, following in the footsteps of the great acharyas and the personal spiritual master. So thoughts are always going to be there in the mind. Krishna says, engage your mind in always thinking of me. We just heard a few days ago, chapter 9, text 34. Thoughts are going to be there. So Krishna is saying, think about me. Yeah, we should try to think of Krishna. And what shall we think? Try to plan how to please him. So, what thoughts for Krishna should we have? How can I please Krishna? How can I please? What can I do to please Krishna? And following in the footsteps of the great acharyas and the personal spiritual master. Not that I just make up something. oh, this is how I will please Krishna. No, I have to follow the instructions of the acharyas, of the teacher, because we don't know how to please Krishna. We have forgotten Krishna. But the acharyas know him. The acharyas are teaching us how to please him. They are activities of the body, activities of the mind, and activities of speech. So the body, the mind, and the speech. So our words, our thoughts, and our actions. A Krishna conscious person engages his words in preaching the glories of the Lord. This is called kirtan. So a pure devotee, what does he do? All his words are only for the glorification of the Lord. He speaks for pleasing Krishna. That's all. That's what he uses his words for. And this is called kirtan. And in his mind, what is he thinking in his mind? He's thinking of the activities of the Lord, Krishna's pastimes. Krishna is speaking on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, or he's having his Braj pastimes with his devotees. In this way, one can always think of the activities and pastimes of the Lord. This is the mental culture of Krishna consciousness. So, by the words, speaking the glories of the Lord, and in the mind, always thinking of the pastimes of the Lord, the leelas of the Lord. So, the Lord has many leelas, not only in Braj, but his speaking of Bhagavad Gita is also his leela. It's his pastime. He's standing there as Partha Sarathi. We can think such things, and by our words, we can glorify the Lord. This is Krishna consciousness, cultivating Krishna consciousness. We'll stop here for today. Were there any other questions or comments?
No, all of them. Thank you.
Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
thank you
Hare
so much. Hare Krishna, Shla Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Uh,
Hari Bol.